The Hiss in the Deep Woods. Part 1, The Hunter and the Curse. In the misty folds of the Appalachian Mountains in North Carolina, nestled among the hills and pine-covered slopes, there sat a quiet town called Silver Creek. The people there lived simply, woodcutters, hunters, and small shopkeepers, and though they didn't talk about it loudly, they all knew of an old legend passed down through generations: never kill a white snake. The tale said that white snakes were sacred, spirits of the forest. Killing one would bring a curse, a cold, slithering revenge that would follow you to the grave. Jed Sawyer had no time for legends. In his early 50s, rough-handed and sharp-eyed, Jed had lived in those mountains his whole life. He hunted alone, sold pelts in town, and drank whiskey by his fireplace when the nights turned cold. He didn't believe in curses, and he didn't fear anything that slithered on its belly. One crisp October morning, with frost still clinging to the leaves, Jed wandered deeper into the forest than usual. There, on a sunlit rock by a mountain stream, he saw it: a white snake. It was coiled gracefully, scales glowing like polished ivory, and its eyes, unnervingly human, locked on his. Jed didn't hesitate. He raised his rifle and fired. The echo of the gunshot bounced between the trees. The snake twitched, then lay still. Jed approached, satisfied, lifting the limp body. Rare prize, he muttered to himself. He didn't notice the silence that fell after. He didn't feel the pair of black eyes watching from the shadows, low to the ground, still and patient. Something had seen. Part 2, The Signs. After that day, strange things began to happen. At first, it was just the hissing, soft, like wind at the window. Then it grew louder, more deliberate, like whispers forming words in a language he couldn't understand. He would wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, heart pounding, convinced something had been watching him through the cracks in his walls. Then came the trails, long, winding marks in the dirt around his cabin. He counted dozens at first, then hundreds, as if a whole nest had slithered there, circling his home. Jed, annoyed more than afraid, fought back the way any mountain man would. He poured sulfur along the edges of the porch, nailed garlic to the doorframe, even set up snake traps. None of it worked. Every morning, new trails appeared. Once, he found a single black scale on his pillow. A week after killing the white snake, he woke to a stinging itch on his neck. Reaching up, he felt something moving. Flick. A black snake, small but fast, slithered off his bed and under the floorboards. He leapt up, crushed it with a boot, but the fear lingered like a fever. Part 3, The First Death. Jed had a friend, Caleb, a fellow hunter who'd known him since they were boys. When Jed told him the story, the snake, the curse, the tracks, Caleb laughed. Sounds like whiskey talk, Caleb said, though uneasily. Still, he agreed to come see for himself. That evening, Caleb stood on the porch, frowning at the twisting tracks in the dirt and more than either of them had ever seen. Might be something more than nature, he admitted. The next day, Caleb urged Jed to visit Mavis, a reclusive woman who lived at the edge of the woods. Folks called her Witch in whispers, though many sought her out when doctors failed them. Mavis listened silently as Jed recounted everything. When he finished, she stared at him for a long moment and said, "That was no ordinary snake. You killed something sacred. The spirit of the forest may be older than men. It saw you, and now it wants you to know what it means to fear." Jed scoffed. Fear doesn't live in these bones. 3 days later, Caleb was found dead near the creek. His face was pale, eyes wide open, mouth agape, no wounds, no scratches, but the coroner found something strange: a snake bite near his heart from a species no one could identify, and his blood had thickened like tar. That night, Jed locked every window, bolted every door. Part 4, Running. By the end of the month, Jed had had enough. He packed his things, boarded up the cabin, and set off in his truck toward Florida. He figured he could leave the mountains behind, maybe even start fresh. The snakes couldn't follow him forever. Or so he thought. But 40 miles out, winding through a narrow stretch of highway, his rear tire blew out. Cursing, Jed pulled over, got out, opened the trunk, and froze. Inside were at least a dozen small snakes, coiled in the spare tire compartment. Their black bodies writhed in unison, eyes fixed on him. Jed screamed and emptied his pistol into the trunk. By the time the smoke cleared, the snakes were dead, but so was his engine. Shaken, he walked 10 miles to the nearest gas station and spent the night in a roadside motel. He dreamt of the white snake again. It was alive now, gliding through tall grass, eyes glowing. This time it spoke, not in words but in something deeper, a knowing. You took from us, now we take from you. Jed awoke gasping and saw snakes crawling all over the bed, sliding over his arms and legs. He flipped on the light. Nothing. Just sheets, just shadows, the end. For weeks, Jed kept moving. From town to town, motel to motel. The snakes followed. He was bitten 3 more times. Each time he barely made it to a hospital in time, but he grew weaker, thinner, as if the venom was staying in him, slowly replacing something inside. He began talking to himself, muttering names no one else had ever heard. His eyes lost focus. He couldn't sleep more than an hour without waking to hissing. Eventually, like all hunted creatures, Jed turned back. He returned to Silver Creek, broken, gray haired, barely able to walk. Mavis opened her door when she saw him, but said nothing. I need it to stop, Jed rasped. I'll do anything. She shook her head. It's not about what you do now, it's about what you did. The forest chose you, and it doesn't forget. That night, the townsfolk heard something echoing from the trees, a terrible, high pitched hiss that rose and fell like a scream. In the morning, Jed's old cabin stood open. No sign of a body, no blood, no struggle, only only a single massive snake track leading from the doorstep into the woods. They say if you walk through Silver Creek's forest during a full moon, you might hear a whisper. Not wind, not owls, but something older, something cold. And if you hear it, run, or it'll follow you home. Let me know if you'd like a PDF version, a graphic story layout, or even an audio narration of the story.